Have you ever wondered if the escapes you see in movies could actually happen? Well, some of the most unbelievable prison breaks in history are even wilder than what Hollywood dreams up. These aren't just stories of sneaking past a sleepy guard. They're epic tales of human ingenuity, relentless determination, and sometimes just plain audacious luck. Today, we're diving deep into the history of prison breaks, uncovering the most daring escapes that defied impossible odds. From impenetrable island fortresses to high-tech supermax facilities, these stories prove that when the will to be free is strong enough, no wall is too high and no plan is too crazy. Let us start our journey way back in the 18th century with a man whose name became synonymous with escape, Giacomo Casanova. Yes, that Casanova is famous for his romantic escapades. One of his greatest adventures was breaking out of the Doge's Palace prison in Venice, known as the Leads. This place was considered completely escape-proof. Prisoners were held in cells directly under the lead roof, which meant scorching heat in the summer and freezing cold in the winter. Casanova, arrested for public outrages against the holy religion, was having none of it. He found a piece of iron, an old bolt, and patiently, over months, chiseled away at the wooden floorboards of his cell. His first attempt was thwarted when he was moved to a different cell. Undeterred, he started all over again. He even teamed up with a fellow inmate, a priest, who was in a cell above him. The plan was pure genius. Casanova broke through his ceiling, climbed into the priest's cell, and then together, they broke through the roof of the palace itself. They found themselves on the rooftop of one of Venice's most famous landmarks. They then had to carefully navigate the slippery lead tiles, break into another part of the palace through a window, and then incredibly just walk down the main staircase. They looked so out of place that a guard, thinking they were officials who had been accidentally locked in, simply unlocked the front door for them. Casanova just strolled out into the Piazza San Marco and hopped on a gondola to freedom. It was a breakout so bold, so theatrical, it was pure Casanova. Die. Let us fast forward to what many call the most famous prison break of all time, the 1962 escape from Alcatraz. The Rock, a grim fortress in the middle of San Francisco Bay, surrounded by frigid, treacherous waters. No one had ever officially escaped and survived. The prison's motto was, if you break the rules, you go to prison. If you break the prison's rules, you go to Alcatraz. But for inmates Frank Morris, brothers John and Clarence Anglin, that was a challenge, not a warning. Morris was the mastermind, with an IQ reportedly in the top 2% of the population. Over months, the trio, along with another inmate named Alan West, who didn't make it out in time, executed a plan of incredible detail and patience. They used sharpened spoons stolen from the mess hall and a drill made from a broken vacuum cleaner motor to slowly chip away at the SSS's set. Crumbling concrete walls around the air vents in their cells. To hide their work, they crafted fake wall sections out of painted cardboard. And to cover the noise of their digging, Morris would play his accordion during the prison's designated music hour. It was a symphony of deception. But getting out of the cell was only the first step. You needed to fool the guards during the nightly bed checks. So, they created dummy heads paper-mac heads, made from a mixture of soap, toilet paper, and concrete dust, topped with real human hair they collected from the prison barbershop. Tucked into their beds, these lifelike decoys fooled the guards long enough for them to make their move. On the night of June 11, 1962, they squeezed through the holes, climbed up a utility corridor, and reached the prison roof. From there, they slid down a pipe and made their way to the shore. They had assembled a raft and life vests out of more than 50 stolen raincoats, all meticulously stitched and glued together. They inflated their raft using a concertina, a small accordion-like instrument, and slipped into the dark, icy waters of the bay, disappearing into the night. Did they make it? That's the million-dollar question. The FBI officially concluded that they likely drowned in the harsh currents, but no bodies were ever definitively recovered. Over the years, tantalizing clues have emerged in mysterious photos. A deathbed confession from a supposed accomplice keeping the legend alive. Whether they met their end in the bay or sipped cocktails on a beach in Brazil, the Alcatraz escape remains a masterclass in covert engineering and raw nerve. Our next story takes us to the skies. On September 11, 1971, a helicopter suddenly descended into the yard of the Santa Marta Acatitla prison in Mexico City. Inmates and guards stared in disbelief as an American businessman named Joel David Kaplan and his cellmate, a Venezuelan counterfeiter, sprinted towards the chopper, jumped in, and were whisked away. The entire operation took less than 5 minutes. Kaplan was a New York businessman serving a 28-year sentence for a murder he claimed he didn't commit. His sister Judy refused to accept his fate. She orchestrated one of the most audacious and movie-like escapes imaginable. She hired a helicopter pilot from California, flew him down to Mexico, and paid him a hefty sum. The plan was executed with military precision. The pilot dyed his hair and flew a helicopter that had been painted to look like an official government craft. He flew low, landed in the 1 yard without guard towers, and was gone before anyone could react. Kaplan's story was so incredible it was later turned into a Charles Bronson movie, Breakout. It was a perfect example of how, with enough resources and guts, even the most direct approach can work. But not all escapes require outside help or elaborate tools. Sometimes all it takes is an unbelievable amount of physical and mental endurance. Take the story of Choi Gapabok, a South Korean man who became known as the Korean Houdini. In 2012, Choi, a yoga master with 23 years of practice, was arrested for robbery. 5 days later, he decided he was leaving. He was being held in a detention cell in Daegu. The food slot in his cell door was just 5.9 inches tall and 17.7 inches wide. It's tiny, smaller than a standard letter-sized piece of paper. Most people would look at that and see nothing but a solid door. Choi looked at it and saw an exit. In the dead of night, while the guards were sleeping, Choi applied a skin ointment all over his upper body. Then, he began to contort his body in ways that seem impossible. He dislocated joints and squeezed himself headfirst through that tiny food slot. The entire process took just 34 seconds. Ooh! Security footage shows him wriggling out like a snake before quietly slipping away. He was recaptured 6 days later. But his escape remains one of the most mind-bending displays of physical control in prison break history. From Casanova's classic cunning to the Alcatraz trio's meticulous engineering, from a sister's daring helicopter rescue to a yoga master's impossible contortions, these stories show us the incredible lengths people will go to for freedom. They are testaments to the human spirit's refusal to be caged. Each escape is a puzzle, a combination of planning, timing, and a deep, unshakable desire to be on the other side of the wall. These stories aren't just about crime and punishment. They're about the psychology of confinement and the power of hope against overwhelming odds. They remind us that even in the most secure places on Earth, the human mind remains the ultimate key. What do you think is the most impressive escape in history? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the world of impossible escapes, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more incredible stories. See you next time.